The Empire's ultimatum was transmitted to every device on Earth simultaneously. It filled the skies, echoed through streets, and invaded the minds of every human being alive. The message was simple: kneel or be destroyed. General David Carson stood in the command center deep beneath Enceladus, Saturn's moon, watching the transmission repeat across multiple screens. His weathered face remained impassive, but the muscle twitching along his jaw betrayed his fury. He'd known this day would come. They all had. "Status of the Black Fleet?" he asked, his voice rough from years of shouting orders across battlefields, both terrestrial and celestial. Lieutenant Braddock, a tall man with dark skin and steady hands, touched his console. "Fully operational, sir. All 37 vessels are primed and ready. Crews are standing by." Carson nodded. For 10 years, they had built this fleet in secret, knowing that the day would come when Earth's political leaders would surrender to the empire that had already consumed most of the galaxy. For 10 years, they had prepared for this moment, gathering resources and allies, constructing ships designed for one purpose: to defy the inevitable. "And Earth?" Carson asked. "The Council is meeting now." Braddock's expression darkened. "Early reports suggest they're preparing terms of surrender." Carson's fist came down hard on the metal console. "Cowards!" The intercom crackled. "General, incoming transmission from Admiral Lockash." Carson stiffened. Reyna Lockash, once his closest ally, now the Empire's peacekeeper on Earth. Her betrayal still burned like acid in his veins. "Put her through," he ordered. Reyna's face appeared on the central screen. Her once warm eyes were now cold, her dark hair pulled back severely under the Empire's insignia. The silver uniform she wore gleamed under artificial light. "David," she said, her voice soft but firm, "the Empire has made its final offer. Earth will surrender. The Council has already voted." "And what happens to those who refuse to kneel, Reyna?" Carson's voice was deceptively calm. "You know how this works, David. The Empire's integration is painless. If we submit," Carson finished, "if we allow them to reshape our minds, our culture, our very existence to fit their vision of order." He leaned closer to the screen. "Tell me, Reyna, do you still dream, or did they take that from you too?" A flicker of something, pain, perhaps regret, crossed her face before the mask of imperial efficiency returned. "The Empire brings peace, David. It's what we fought for, remember? No more wars, no more suffering." "No more freedom," Carson countered. "No more humanity." Reyna's expression hardened. "Make peace with reality. David, the Empire has targeted Mars as a demonstration. You have 6 hours before they show Earth what resistance means." The screen went black. Carson stood motionless for a long moment, then turned to Braddock. "Bring the fleet to full alert, and get me a direct line to Commander Zhang on the Mars outpost." "Sir," Braddock hesitated, "if the Empire has targeted Mars—" "I know," Carson said grimly. "My sister and her family are there too." 6 hours later, Mars erupted in fire visible from Earth's telescopes. The Empire's weapons tore through the red planet's atmosphere, striking with surgical precision at human settlements. Millions died in an instant. Carson watched from the bridge of his flagship, the Aegis Wraith, as the distant world that had been humanity's first true colony became a graveyard. Among the dead were Carson's sister Elena, her husband, and their 2 children, his only remaining family. Carson had watched the attack through the ship's enhanced telescopes, had seen the precise moment when the colony where they lived vanished in atomic fire. He had not shed a tear. There would be time for grief later. Now, there was only cold rage and the certainty of what must come next. "The Black Fleet is yours to command, General," Braddock said quietly, standing at his side. Carson turned to face the bridge crew. Men and women who had sacrificed everything to be here, who had trained in secret, who had believed in this moment when few others did. "The Empire believes we will surrender," Carson said, his voice carrying across the bridge. "They believe that after Mars, we will kneel in terror. They are wrong." He paused, meeting the eyes of his crew. "Today, humanity stands its ground. Today, we show the Empire that Earth does not kneel. Today, we fight." A cheer went up from the bridge crew, echoed throughout the ship and across the entire fleet. Carson raised his hand for silence. "Our target is the Eternal Verdict, the Empire's flagship and the seat of their power in this sector. They believe it invincible. We will prove them wrong." He turned to the tactical display. "Lieutenant Braddock, set course for the Empire's staging area near Jupiter. We strike while they still believe us cowed." As the Aegis Wraith and the rest of the Black Fleet moved out from their hidden dock within Enceladus, Carson received another transmission. This one was not from Reyna, but from Earth's Council. "General Carson," the Council President's face was ashen. "You are ordered to stand down immediately. Earth has accepted the Empire's terms of surrender. Your actions constitute treason against humanity." Carson looked at the politician with undisguised contempt. "No, Madam President. Your surrender constitutes treason. The Black Fleet sails to defend Earth, not abandon it." He cut the transmission and turned to his communications officer. "Send this message to all resistance cells on Earth. The Black Fleet stands with humanity. The time is now." As the ships accelerated toward Jupiter, Carson retreated to his quarters. There, alone, he finally allowed himself to feel the weight of his sister's death. He opened a small compartment in his desk and removed a worn photograph. Elena and her family standing on the red Martian soil, smiling beneath the dome of their colony. Their faces blurred as tears finally came. "I couldn't save you," he whispered, "but I swear your deaths will not be in vain." The Black Fleet moved silently through space, their stealth technology rendering them nearly invisible to Imperial sensors. 37 ships against the might of an empire that spanned galaxies. It should have been hopeless. But Carson had planned for this moment for a decade, and hopeless battles were his specialty. On the third day of their journey, the fleet intercepted an Imperial patrol. 2 sleek silver ships marked with the Empire's insignia, a stylized hand holding a star. "They've spotted us," Braddock reported. Carson nodded. "Destroy them before they can report back." The Aegis Wraith fired first, its energy weapons cutting through the Imperial patrol ships with surgical precision. No survivors, no distress calls. The element of surprise was preserved, but Carson knew it wouldn't last. By the 5th day, they had reached the orbit of Jupiter. Ahead lay the Empire's staging ground, a massive array of warships surrounding the Eternal Verdict. The Imperial flagship dwarfed everything around it, a monument to the Empire's technological superiority and boundless arrogance. 35 Imperial warships detected, the tactical officer reported, plus the Eternal Verdict. "Incoming transmission, sir," the communications officer called out. "It's Admiral Lockhatch again." Carson nodded. "Put her through." Reyna's face appeared, her expression strained. "David, turn back now. You cannot win this fight. Earth has surrendered. Mars is gone. Don't throw away more lives needlessly." "Is that concern I hear, Reyna?" Carson's voice was hard. "I thought the Empire had carved that out of you years ago." "I'm trying to save what's left of humanity," she snapped. "The Empire can be reasoned with, but not if you attack their flagship. They'll destroy Earth in retaliation." "They'll destroy Earth anyway," Carson replied. "Or worse, they'll hollow us out until we're nothing but shells, just like they did to you." Reyna's composure cracked. "David, please, I know what the Empire does to conquered worlds. I've seen it. but I've also seen what happens to worlds that resist. There won't be anything left of Earth to save. Then we'll die as humans, not as slaves. Carson leaned forward. You used to understand that, Reyna, before you sold your soul. The Empire is sending reinforcements, she said after a moment. A second fleet, twice the size of what you're facing now. They'll be there in hours. Then we'd better be quick. Carson cut the transmission and turned to his tactical officer. Deploy the fleet in attack formation Epsilon. Target the Eternal Verdict's command center. The Black Fleet spread out, each ship taking its designated position. The Empire had not yet detected them. Their attention focused on Earth and the recent conquest of Mars. It was the only advantage Carson had. Sir, Braddock said quietly, if what Admiral Lockatch said is true about reinforcements— It's true, Carson confirmed. Reyna doesn't lie, not even now. Then this is a suicide mission. Carson smiled grimly. It always was, Lieutenant. But before we die, we're going to show the Empire that humanity doesn't surrender without a fight. He addressed the entire fleet through the command channel. All ships, this is General Carson. The moment we attack, the Empire will respond with everything they have. Our only chance is to hit hard and fast. Focus all firepower on the Eternal Verdict. If we can cripple their flagship, we send a message to every world under their boot. The Empire can bleed. The Black Fleet moved forward, still cloaked in stealth technology. They were within striking distance when the first Imperial ship detected them. We've been spotted, Braddock reported. Imperial ships are moving to intercept. All ships engage, Carson ordered. The battle erupted with brilliant flashes of energy weapons. The Black Fleet ships were smaller and more maneuverable than their Imperial counterparts, darting between the larger vessels, firing with precision at critical systems. Carson had drilled his crews relentlessly for this moment, and it showed in their disciplined attacks. 3 Imperial ships fell in the first wave, taken by surprise, but the Empire's forces quickly regrouped, bringing their superior firepower to bear. A Black Fleet frigate exploded under concentrated fire, then another. Press the attack, Carson ordered. Get us closer to the Eternal Verdict. The Aegis Wraith surged forward, 2 escort ships flanking it. Energy beams lanced out from Imperial vessels, one scoring a direct hit on the Wraith's port side. Shields at 60%, Braddock reported as the ship shuddered. Engine 3 is damaged. Carson ignored the warning. Continue approach. Ready the quantum torpedoes. The Eternal Verdict loomed larger on the view screen, its massive bulk bristling with weapons that were now firing at the approaching Black Fleet ships. 2 more of Carson's vessels erupted in flames, their crews lost in an instant. We're in range, the weapons officer announced. Fire everything we have, Carson ordered. The Aegis Wraith unleashed its full arsenal at the Imperial flagship, quantum torpedoes, designed to penetrate the most advanced shields, streaked toward the Eternal Verdict. The first volley struck true, creating a momentary flicker in the flagship's defensive field. Again, Carson commanded. A second volley followed, then a third. The remaining Black Fleet ships joined the assault, concentrating their fire on the same section of the Eternal Verdict's shields. Their shields are weakening, Braddock reported, excitement creeping into his voice. Then the counterattack came. The Eternal Verdict fired its main weapon, a beam of energy so intense it seemed to bend the light around it. It sliced through 3 Black Fleet ships as if they were paper. Evasive maneuvers, Carson shouted as the beam swung toward the Aegis Wraith. The ship lurched to port, barely avoiding the deadly energy, but the maneuver brought them into the line of fire of 2 Imperial cruisers. Impacts rocked the bridge as their weapons found their mark. Shields failing, Braddock reported grimly. Hull breaches on decks 5 through 8. Carson gripped the arms of his command chair. Keep firing. All remaining ships. Continue the assault on the Eternal Verdict. The battle raged on, the Black Fleet fighting with desperate valor against overwhelming odds. Ship after ship fell to Imperial weapons, but not before inflicting damage on their targets. The space around Jupiter became a graveyard of burning vessels, both human and Imperial. "Sir," Braddock called out, "we're detecting a new energy signature from the Eternal Verdict. Something powerful." Carson's tactical display showed an enormous power buildup within the Imperial flagship. "They're preparing to use the Seed," he realized. The Seed was the Empire's ultimate weapon against resistance, a psychic device that could alter the minds of an entire population, making them compliant and docile. It was how the Empire had conquered so many worlds without destroying them. "If they deploy that against Earth..." Braddock didn't need to finish the thought. Carson made his decision. "Set collision course for the Eternal Verdict's main energy core. Prepare to overload our quantum drive on impact." Braddock stared at him. "Sir, that would..." "I know what it would do, Lieutenant." Carson cut him off. "Order all surviving ships to retreat to Enceladus and continue the resistance." "General?" Braddock began, but Carson silenced him with a look. "That's an order, Lieutenant. Earth needs leaders for what's coming next. I'm trusting you to be one of them." Before Braddock could respond, a new voice came over the communication system. "Carson, stop this madness now!" It wasn't Reyna this time, but a deeper, resonant voice that seemed to echo inside Carson's skull. The view screen showed a tall, pale figure in ornate black robes standing on the bridge of the Eternal Verdict. "Judicator Orin," Carson acknowledged, "the Empire's supreme representative in this sector, known for his ruthless efficiency in subjugating worlds." "Your resistance is impressive but futile," the Judicator said. "I offer you one chance. Surrender now, and your crews will be spared. Continue this attack, and we will not only destroy your fleet, but make an example of Earth that the galaxy will never forget." Carson smiled coldly. "We've already seen your example on Mars, but you've miscalculated, Judicator. Humans don't respond to terror with submission. We respond with rage." He cut the transmission and turned to Braddock. "Transfer to the escape shuttle. Take command of whatever's left of the fleet." "I won't leave you to die alone," Braddock protested. "You'll do as ordered," Carson snapped. Then, more gently, "Someone has to tell our story, Jacob. Someone has to keep the fight alive." After a moment, Braddock nodded. "It has been an honor serving with you, General." "The honor was mine." Carson clasped the younger man's arm. "Now go." As Braddock and a skeleton crew evacuated to the escape shuttle, Carson took manual control of the Aegis Wraith. The ship was barely holding together, its engines straining as he pushed it toward the Eternal Verdict. "Elena," he whispered, thinking of his sister and her family. "I'm coming." Imperial weapons fire converged on the Aegis Wraith as it made its suicidal run. Shields failed completely, hull plating melted away, but still the ship drove forward, aimed at the heart of the Empire's flagship. In his final moments, Carson received one last transmission. Reyna's face appeared on the fractured view screen, her eyes wide with understanding and something else, respect. "Goodbye, David," she said simply. Carson nodded. "Remember who you were, Reyna. Remember Earth." The Aegis Wraith struck the Eternal Verdict with the force of a meteor, breaching its outer hull. In the instant before he ordered the quantum drive to overload, Carson saw the fear in the eyes of the Imperials on their bridge. They had never expected this, never believed that humans would sacrifice everything rather than submit. The explosion tore through the Eternal Verdict like a miniature sun being born. The Imperial flagship, symbol of the Empire's invincibility, broke apart in a spectacular cascade of secondary explosions. The seed weapon, nearly ready to deploy, detonated prematurely, its psychic energy dissipating harmlessly into space. Judicator Orin, the Empire's voice in this sector, was atomized along with his command center. The surviving Imperial ships fell into disarray, their command structures suddenly decapitated. From the escape shuttle, Lieutenant Braddock watched the destruction of both the Aegis Wraith and the Eternal Verdict, with tears streaming down his face. "Signal all remaining ships," he ordered. "Fall back to Enceladus as planned." Of the 37 vessels that had comprised the Black Fleet, only 9 survived the battle. They limped back to their hidden base, carrying with them the news of what General Carson had done. On Earth, the destruction of the Eternal Verdict was visible as a new star briefly flaring in the night sky. The Empire's representatives, already preparing for the formal surrender ceremony, found their communications with their superiors suddenly cut off. Confusion spread through their ranks. Reyna Lockoch stood in her office in Geneva, watching the distant light fade. She had felt the death of the Judicator like a weight lifting from her mind. For years she had served the Empire, believing that collaboration was the only way to save something of humanity. Now, for the first time since her conversion, she found herself questioning that choice. Her assistant entered, his face pale. "Admiral, we've lost contact with the Imperial fleet, and there are reports of uprisings in 7 major cities." Reyna nodded slowly. "David, you magnificent fool," she whispered. "You've started something that can't be stopped." She turned to her assistant. "Prepare my shuttle and delete all records of my personal files from the Imperial database." "Ma'am?" The assistant looked confused. "We're leaving," Reyna said, removing her Imperial insignia and letting it fall to the floor. "There's work to be done." The Imperial reinforcements arrived 12 hours later to find the Eternal Verdict destroyed, their Judicator dead, and Earth in the early stages of open rebellion. The Empire's response was swift and brutal. Cities were targeted from orbit. Millions died in the initial strikes. But unlike Mars, Earth was not so easily subdued. For every assault, the resistance grew stronger. Carson's sacrifice had ignited something that had been dormant in humanity. The unquenchable spirit of defiance. The Black Fleet's surviving ships, now under Braddock's command, began guerrilla operations throughout the solar system, striking at Imperial supply lines and communication relays. And deep within the resistance, a new leader emerged. Reyna Lockoch, once the Empire's most effective peacekeeper, now dedicated herself to overthrowing her former masters. Her knowledge of Imperial tactics and weaknesses made her invaluable to the cause. 1 month after the Battle of Jupiter, as it came to be known, Reyna stood before the assembled leaders of Earth's resistance in a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of what had once been Chicago. "The Empire believes that by destroying our cities, they can break our will." She told them they are wrong. "General Carson showed us that the Empire is not invincible. They can be hurt. They can be killed." "Why should we trust you?" demanded one of the resistance leaders. "You served them. You helped them take control of Earth." "Yes," Reyna acknowledged. "I believed surrender was the only way to save lives. I was wrong." She looked around the room, meeting each skeptical gaze. "I cannot undo what I've done, but I can help you fight what comes next." "And what is that?" asked another leader. "The Empire will send another Judicator with another seed weapon. They will try again to remake us in their image." Reyna's voice hardened. "We have to be ready." Gradually, the resistance coalesced around Reyna and Braddock. What had begun as scattered uprisings became a coordinated rebellion. Imperial forces found themselves attacked from all sides, their superior technology countered by humanity's desperate ingenuity and intimate knowledge of their own world. 6 months after Carson's sacrifice, the rebellion had spread beyond Earth. Colonial outposts throughout the solar system, inspired by the Black Fleet's stand, rose up against their imperial overseers. Even more significantly, Word of the eternal verdict's destruction reached other conquered worlds, sparking similar uprisings across the sector. The Empire, which had conquered hundreds of worlds through a combination of overwhelming force and the Seed's psychic manipulation, found itself facing something unprecedented, a multi-planet rebellion united by a single rallying cry. Remember Jupiter. 1 year to the day after General Carson had launched the Black Fleet, Reyna Locach and Lieutenant Braddock stood on the bridge of a new flagship, built in the hidden shipyards of Enceladus. Around them gathered the captains of 27 vessels, a new fleet, cobbled together from surviving military ships and repurposed civilian craft. The Empire has designated Earth a problem world, Reyna informed them. They're sending a full subjugation fleet, 3 times the size of what we faced at Jupiter. Then we'll need allies, Braddock said. Other worlds that have risen up. Reyna nodded. I've made contact with resistance movements on Proxima Centauri 3 and Tau Ceti Prime. They're willing to coordinate their attacks with ours. It won't be enough, one of the captains objected. Even with their help, we're outnumbered 10 to 1. We've always been outnumbered, Reyna replied, but we have something the Empire doesn't understand, something they can't quantify or strategize against. And what's that? The captain asked skeptically. Reyna smiled, a cold expression that reminded those present of General Carson himself. Hope, she said. The Empire thought they could break us. Instead, they've given us something to fight for, not just survival, but freedom. Real freedom. For Earth and every world under Imperial control. She activated the ship's communication system, broadcasting to the entire fleet. 1 year ago, General David Carson showed the galaxy that humanity does not kneel. He gave his life not just for Earth, but for every being suffering under Imperial rule. Today, we honor his sacrifice by continuing what he started. The ship's engines hummed to life as Reyna gave the order. All vessels, prepare for departure. The Black Fleet rises again. As the ships of the new Black Fleet moved out from their hidden dock, a message was transmitted to resistance cells across Earth and throughout the solar system. The rebellion has begun. Remember Jupiter, remember Carson, remember what we fight for. Aboard her flagship, which she had named the Carson's Legacy, Reyna Locach stood at the viewport, watching Earth grow smaller as they accelerated outward. The planet bore the scars of Imperial bombardment, but it remained unbroken, a testament to humanity's resilience. We may not live to see the Empire fall, she said quietly to Braddock, who stood beside her, but we've ensured they'll never know peace while they hold our worlds. Braddock nodded. General Carson would be proud. Yes, Reyna agreed, her eyes fixed on the stars ahead, but he'd also tell us to stop talking and start fighting. With that, the Black Fleet engaged its faster-than-light drives, vanishing into the depths of space to continue the war that one man's defiance had begun, a war that would eventually spread across the galaxy and shake the Empire to its foundations. In the years that followed, the name of General David Carson became legendary, a symbol of resistance and hope for dozens of subjugated species. His final act, the destruction of the eternal verdict, was commemorated annually, not just on Earth, but on every world that joined the growing rebellion. And though the fight would be long, and the cost in lives terrible, the spark that Carson had ignited would eventually grow into a flame that not even the Empire, with all its power and technological superiority, could extinguish. For in the end, the Empire had made a fatal mistake. They had demanded Earth's surrender, believing that humans, like so many species before them, would choose survival over freedom. They had not understood that for humanity, the two were inseparable, that to truly live meant to remain free, whatever the cost. The Empire had demanded Earth's surrender. Instead, humanity's Black Fleet had roared in, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same again.